Manel Cop out, Alex Perez in. It's the fight game. Opportunity presents itself, and Alex Perez is here against Matheus Nicolau to try to see what movement is going to occur here in the flyweight division. Folks, we got a fun one on deck. This is going to be a little bit more catered towards the hardcores, but we're coming off of the back of UFC 300. There's nothing more that you can ask for. Let's get hardcore. Let's get into the nitty gritty because that's where the money is made. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. My name is Derick G. I am your host, and breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. We're back to the old stomping grounds. Once upon a time, man, we'd be breaking down fights where you didn't know who none of these fighters were. You could hardly get film tape, and we're kind of back to square one right here. You love to see it. It's the big show. How you feeling, big dog?
Derek, I'm feeling good about it, brother. Like you said, we're back to the roots. We're back to the hardcores, man. And like you said, this is where the money is made. And that's what makes me excited to be breaking down this fight card this weekend, man.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Now, of course, we're going to have to preface a couple things here, folks. But before we jump into all of that, we have to do a record breakdown right here. Almost even playing field at this point. I wanted to say something different, but the reality is my ego has been taking a major hit. AJ has ran it up, coming off of a flawless 5-0 week last week. Let's see if we could repeat the efforts, but the numbers are what they are. 60% plus, that's the key. Accuracy rating, you love to see it. And with that being said, AJ, let's jump into this TLDR and just get straight to business here, brother. As always, I'm going to bring up the big screen and we're going to talk about the overall picks right here. I guess that's just what we can call it. This is the bet sheet. We don't got a lot of words for it, but we do got your ability. Take a screenshot, run to your sports book, run up some money lines. I'm going to give you guys a little bit more context in just one moment. But AJ, we hit a clean, flawless 3-0 on the consensus picks last week. Will we do it again? We got Matheus Nicolau, Superman Ryan Spann, Jonata Diniz, apologies, I messed up the name, but you know what it is, and then Uros Medic. AJ, as always, give me the consensus picks theme for UFC Vegas 91. What do we got?
Derek, the theme this week is sparks, man, fireworks, whatever you want to call it. Either any of these fighters, when they proceed and when they perform at their best, man, they're providing a show, and that's what we're expecting this week.
I want to see a show. I want to see under the radar, big time knockouts, finishes, submissions, the entire gambit. And with that being said, folks, as you can tell right here, let me not pull that up. This is just what we're gonna leave you with. We're gonna leave you with the consensus picks, and we need to give a little context. So this isn't the appropriate place to do it. Hang out for 5 more seconds while we jump this main card intro, and then we'll break it down for you folks. So, AJ, you know what time it is. Let's break down some main card fights, baby. Let's get it.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, you guys know what the drill is. A little bit different this time around, folks. So this is just going to be a PSA right here. Me and AJ both, we've been sprawling the internet, scrawling, whatever you want to call it, looking for over and unders, looking for props, looking to see what kind of value we could bring to the table for you guys. And the unfortunate reality is I haven't seen this happen much often in, the career doing this, but there's no lines. I don't know what's going on. Lines are hardly available. Couple of fights right here. For an example, the Jonathan Pierce versus David Onama shows up on a Tapology on a SureDog, but we don't see it on ESPN. Few lines available. We're not going to give you the hypotheticals and the maybe happened, maybe won't happen. We're going to give you what's concrete with the evidence and the data that we have to work with. So 5 fights on the docket this week. AJ, again, you haven't really seen anything like this. We just kind of got to play with the cards we're dealt, right?
It's a strange one, Derek, especially going into, a fight card, man. You expect at least some odds out there, but I don't know if it's because there's a lot of fighters that have fallen out, or maybe it's fighters that are unknown that Vegas doesn't want to put the odds out, but it is strange for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So with all of that being said, again, folks, let's go ahead and let's jump straight into business and break down some fights. Let's get it. All right, main event. You know what we're here to break down. Matheus Nicolau versus Alex Perez. AJ, we said it. Manel Cop out, Alex Perez in. Now, did he not just come off of a loss to Muhammad Mokaev? Yes, but no worries. You get number 5 in the division now. That's what happens when you're a company man and when opportunity arises. Again, folks, if you didn't catch what we just said, because this is a short clip snippet, no props available. We didn't have the data, but we did have an opening line of minus 175 in favor of Matheus Nicolau, plus 145 comeback right there, AJ. A little bit of movement, not much. I mean, it's not really worth mentioning. Matheus Nicolau now at minus 180, plus 150 for Alex Perez. So the odds makers appear to think that this is a fight that should favor Nicolau, but Alex Perez has a path to victory. So that's going to be my question straight off the bat right here. One thing we have to take into consideration, Apex, small cage, Nicolau is all about movement. How does Perez find his path to victory against Nicolau?
Well, with that small cage, Derick, it's going to be pressure all day long. One thing I like most about Alex Perez, he has quick movement, man. He can get in and out. He can dodge. He can see all the things coming and predict them and then cut angles. One thing that's very nice about him, he's fast with it too. So when you think you're ahead of the guy, next thing you know, Perez is still catching up to you, or not, I shouldn't say catching up to you, cutting you off and being able to control that dominant position. If he can do that and he can make this a very technical kind of foot battle, if you will, he might find a lot of success here.
I think that's definitely in the realm of possibility. Now, the hard part is just getting your hands on Nicolau because, again, his whole entire thing, this is one of the things that makes him one of the trickier fighters to wager on or to handicap, is because he's not one of those guys who's about the fight. I think he's more about the competition, which is a big difference because he'll sit there and he'll say, yeah, you can't catch me. Well, I'm going to keep circling around. I'm going to outpoint you. I'm going to outstrike you by a little bit, and I'll go ahead and I'll play in favor of the judges. It's not a problem. So the big question here is, can Alex Perez win this fight, AJ, realistically, without securing a takedown?
Without securing a takedown, Derick, I do not think so, man. And especially because the way we've seen Alex Perez perform in the past, he was, upper echelon elite, but we've seen him kind of have the rest of the pack catch up to him. So if Nicolau can do that, can play towards the judges and kind of maintain that distance, I don't see any way in which Alex Perez really knuckles up and gets to work, right? I think he does have to secure the takedown and get actually to the ground and control there.
Well, the good news is that this is finally a matchup that he has right here that isn't involving somebody who's trying desperately to take him down, right? That's kind of the beauty behind the situation. So if Nicolau is moving all across the board, Alex Perez can manage to get him, force him into the corner of the cage, whatever the case may be, clinch him up, and then start working. I think some success could happen. But the reality is, man, Nicolau, he's only been taken down once in his entire UFC career. So if we're really hinging on that one, I like the odds at minus 180 if that's the current right now for Matheus Nicolau, and I don't really have anything in my bag right here where I'm looking at Alex Perez from film study that gives me the confidence that he'll be able to hold down Nicolau for 25 minutes. This isn't a 15-minute affair. So we have to make some counterpoints right here, man. We're talking about Alex Perez path to victory right here, but the reality is Nicolau, if he could strike, keep it at distance, this should be a pretty easy night at the office.
Yeah, it should be a pretty easy night at the office for Nicolau if he can keep it standing and keep it at distance. But the thing that worries me, if you're Nicolau better right here, Derick, is Alex Perez is dangerous in chaos. So if there is that moment, if those moments spark up, money leans towards Alex Perez in that chaos. It's just Nicolau has to stay clean for that full 25 minutes.
Now, when we're looking at like losses in the UFC, I'm only counting UFC right here. Nicolau has 2 losses, both knockouts, never been submitted. Alex Perez, been knocked out, been submitted twice, and has lost a decision. So are you confident? What would you be confident about? Like if Alex Perez gets his hands on him, that'll knock him out, that'll submit him? Like is there any confidence level there?
The confidence, I would say, would have to be in a knockout, Derick. I don't see Alex Perez controlling for 25 minutes, getting a submission right here. I see it one of those starch moments, and not like Brandon Royval starched and Matheus Nicolau. I don't see it happening like that, but I do see if there's some damage being happening, Alex Perez can take advantage of that.
All right. Should be an interesting night at the office. You're going to get a technician in Nicolau. You're going to get a dog in Alex Perez. And the reality is for Alex Perez, those losses, because it doesn't look great, right? If you're looking at the last 5, you're 2-3 in your last 5. Doesn't look great. 3 losses. Muhammad Mokaev, fantastic prospect. Alexandre Pantoja, champion. Davison Figueiredo, former champion, about to run up and see what he does at 135. And then, oh, by the way, besides that, Joseph Benavidez. That was the only other loss in his last 10. This dude is good. He looked good in his last fight against Mokaev. I like Matheus Nicolau right here, AJ. So that's going to be my pick. We don't have any props that we can go on right here, but if you had to go with the method of victory, give me the decision for Matheus Nicolau all day. Money line, minus 180, we're smashing. What do you think?
I couldn't agree with you anymore, Derick. Matheus Nicolau, and if there is a prop, if the props do come out before Saturday, folks, decision seems to be the best bet, but I like this money line right here.
Of course, depending on the odd. If it's minus money, we might stray away. You feel me? But that's the pick. Bloody Water podcast consensus pick right there. Cash it in. All right, AJ. Moving on along. Ryan Superman Spann versus Bogdan Guskov. Anthony Smith 2.0. No, I'm just kidding. That's what all the people like to joke about. Hey, listen, man. This is a fight right here. We're opening up minus 160 in favor of Ryan Spann. Tells me, the odds makers say, Ryan Spann is probably his own worst enemy. That's what this line tells me. Plus 135 for a Bogdan Guskov, who is 1-1 in the UFC. Not a lot of... just not a lot of experience. He has like 7 first-round finishes that happened in like the span of 90 seconds or something like that, like something crazy, right? My question to you is, why are the odds makers not favorable for Ryan Spann in a fight where if he gets the fight to the ground, I don't see much coming back from Guskov that can deter his path to victory? What do you think?
I genuinely think, and this has no hate towards Ryan Spann at all, because I'm a big Superman Spann fan over here. But the thing is, man, he in Spann's performances, right, his losses and even his wins, it seems like he's kind of hit a performance plateau, right, a talent plateau, if you will, where he wins the fights that, yeah, he squeaks them out, and then he'll lose his fights he should be winning. There's just weird things going on with Spann, and I don't think that inspires a lot of confidence in the odds makers, and that's why I think it's that low, man. Minus 160, and in this kind of fight, if I was thinking this, right, when we first see it, I'm expecting Ryan Spann to be a minus 200, minus 220 favorite going into this, but I do think on the other end of that, man, Bogdan Guskov has the potential to stay away from Ryan Spann, right? Keep things at distance, keep things kind of guessing, if you will, and have Spann looking for those opportunities, but never taking advantage of them, leading towards a lower output.
AJ, you might have a serious career as like an odds maker in the future. Ryan Spann opened as minus 160, current minus 220, right on the nose, brother. You hit it. You feel me? So like you seeing it. You're seeing what the film study is actually like showing us, right? Guskov has now moved to a plus 180 underdog, and I think reasonably so, man. In all honesty, I think if Ryan Spann if he wasn't coming off of 2 losses that were self-inflicted losses more or less, I think he'd be like a minus 350 or something like that. Like he'd be a pretty massive favorite. But you take what you're given, and when you're given a line like this for Ryan Spann, you have to make a decision. And the decision is, do you continue to bet on the guy who you know has the tools, but again, is not always consistent upon fight night? And here's the reason why I think it's safe to take that bet. Guskov, slickster at 205, bro. You don't see a lot of them. Hands down in the pocket, head movement, shoulder rolls, and all that. I love the style. The problem is, if he doesn't land flush and he doesn't get that pistol of a right hand that he has going really quick and early, he just tends to kind of be too slick for his own good. Doesn't prioritize defense, and if he gets taken down, that's kind of it. The thing is he's praised about having really good takedown defense. That's another like code word for saying, yeah, the ground game isn't all that great, but he doesn't let it get there in the first place. Ryan Spann gets him to the ground. What happens, AJ?
Oh man, pure dominance. Well, that's if Ryan Spann is on his game. I do want to put it with that asterisk, because Ryan Spann, I do see him controlling the vast majority of this fight, but I do think there's a 20% chance that Bogdan Guskov can actually do something once he's down there, right? Or stuff the takedowns. But if this does get to the fight, my full confidence is in Spann.
Yeah, if this one gets to the floor, for sure. And that's the thing. Both of these guys have massive power. I'm not going to lie to you. I like Guskov's striking better than I like Spann's. Spann's really quick and has this massive one-shot power that comes at a cost. And the cost is, we don't see a lot of straight shots from him. Even though those are his best weapons, we see a lot of looping, throwing his whole entire self off balance, throwing the kitchen sink in every single shot. Gas tank. AJ, this starts heading towards later round 2, round 3. Neither guy has a proven gas tank. Guskov in his last 10 has gone outside of the first round twice. 3rd round, knockout. 2nd round, submission. Victories, both for him. For Ryan Spann, pretty much the same. 3 fights that have gone out of the first round. He's won 2 of those 3 fights, of course, by finish for the 2 that he won. So if we're having to take a path to victory right here, I don't see this one going the distance. I'd be very surprised if this one went the distance, but I'm still torn between a knockout and a submission because Guskov is too comfortable in the pocket with his hands down. I could totally see a knockout here. Not sure if this one even hits the mats. What do you think?
I'm not sure if this one hits the mat, Derek. The one thing that worries me if you're a Guskov fighter right here is he's not a great hammer, right? If Guskov's on the front foot, man, he's doing well. He's looking right. That slickster does come out and he can make some moves. But if he's not, and Ryan Spann is controlling the entire fight, man, it's going to be rough waters for Guskov going forward. I don't think this hits the round or this hits the mat. But if it does, I like the Spann submission. Other than that, though, I'm kind of more so a stay away from all of that if the props end up coming out.
Absolutely. This is one that I would have loved to take Ryan Spann at minus 160 at the open. At minus 220, I still think this is a very fair price to pay for Ryan Spann. But at the end of the day, we're going to be betting on which version of Ryan Spann shows up. Very similar to once upon a time betting on Khalil Roundtree, right? Just like which version of Khalil rolls through. We know he has the tools. Ryan Spann, he has the goods. 11, I don't think that's the proper number for him, but then again, you got to prove it in the cage. So another Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick, Ryan Spann. We like the finish here. Do not see this one going to a decision. All right, AJ, moving right on along. Man, we got a banger right here. Ariane Lipski versus Karine Silva. I would say arguably for the young stud that is Karine Silva, this is probably going to be her toughest UFC test to date. Now, Ariane Lipski, riding a hot streak, right? Coming off of 3 straight victories. We wrote her off. I wrote her off. Let me be honest. I wrote her off. AJ, did you write her off?
No, man, I've been a fan of the Queen of Violence since day one, Derek. I'm pretty sure I bet on Ariane Lipski on all 3 of those fights, too.
You probably did. You probably did. But I wrote her off because of the lack of grappling. I said, listen, she's great when she can keep the fight standing. When she gets taken down, it becomes a real problem. What have we seen? Well, behind the scenes, she's been training with the Lioness, Amanda Nunes, right? She's been working on the takedown defense. Now she's not letting fights get to the ground. And when she stays on her feet, she's a very, very dangerous opponent. Now, Karine Silva, she looks like the future, AJ. So let's talk a little bit about that. Minus 130 was the open for Ariane Lipski. Plus 110 for Karine Silva. To me, speaks volumes because though she is a dog, she's hardly a dog at open. And that means the odds makers are saying, yeah, this tenured UFC vet who has fought the likes of Casey O'Neill, Melissa Gatto, Priscilla Cachoeira, Montana De La Rosa, Antonita Shevchenko, Luana Carolina, the whole damn near roster of the people that aren't quite ranked but are like in that 15 to 30. Yeah, you're like a coin toss with her. I'm like, wow, that's impressive. What do you think about Karine Silva? What is the ceiling on this young stud?
Wow, ceiling, man. I love Karine Silva going into this fight. Well, and it's hard to say with all the love I just gave Ariane Lipski, man. Karine Silva has the potential. She is the style of fighter that's going to be the future of the division, man. And what I like most about her is she doesn't have, well, she has power, but it's not power you can perceive until she cracks you one with that left hand. And then you're looking, right? You're seeing things, and then that's when Karine Silva is able to implement the rest of her abilities. She has a well-rounded package. Now it's just time to prove it against these upper more elite fighters.
She's getting people out of there, man. She's dispatching people. And you're right. It's unassuming power, almost not even power, it's precision, which turns into power, because you've seen in 2 of her last 3 fights, she's gotten the takedown, but that takedown came in the form of dropping her opponent with a nice left hook, right hook, whatever came down the pipe, right? So she's catching you at the end of her punches. You have to really take her serious because her ground game is legit. If we're taking a look just at her last 10, man, Karine Silva, she has, just to be clear, 8 straight finishes right here through submissions and TKOs right here. She's smashing people. It's not even close. But then again, look at the names of the people that she's fighting. And we haven't seen a serious name until we get to Marina Moroz. Really, Poliana Botelho, solid fighter, right? But Marina Moroz, that's when you're like, oh, okay. All right, gotcha. And she got her in like the last couple seconds of the first round. Terrible, terrible. But let's talk about the actual X's and O's. But before we do that, let me actually talk about the current odds right here. AJ, a line flip has been made. Ariane Lipski opened at minus 130, currently sitting at a plus 130 dog, full 180, minus 150 favorite is Karine Silva. And that's why now I want to talk about X's and O's, because now that Silva is a current favorite against Lipski, what's the path to victory? Are we going to see a blast double take her down? Is she going to stand and trade with Ariane Lipski? Because I'm not sure if that's going to be the greatest approach to this fight. She's less output, but a little more precise through and through. So what do you think?
For Karine Silva, Derek, I think the strategy is going to be go into the first round calculated, play it out, see how things are going to go. Maybe you have to stand and bang, and then you get in trouble. Then you can shoot for the takedown. But I do think round 1 is going to start off a little slower, and then once we start getting to the round 2, round 3, then we're going to start seeing more of the shots coming out, right? More of the doubles, more of the clinches, more of things happening where they're in close, nullifying the danger that Ariane Lipski presents. But that's to say, if Ariane Lipski doesn't put one of those long combos to you, you're not going to be feeling it, because that's one of my favorite things about Lipski. She can hit those combos when you think you're exiting, and she still tags you on a couple.
That's funny. You took the words right out of my mouth. That was going to be the first thing I was going to talk about. She strings the combos together as well, but more important than that, look at the contrast of the two style of fighters. Karine Silva, she's a flowy striker. Lots of kicks, man. Those 1-2, wow, like Muay Thai, just leg kick right there, or a kick to the body, or even throwing that kick up to the head. Super quick with it. but she utilizes that front kick. She utilizes these long rangey attacks to stay at range right here. The difference is Ariane Lipski, she loves to control the center of the cage. So my question is, if the fight doesn't look like Lipski circling the cage and instead it's Silva circling the cage with Lipski controlling the center, how do we set up the takedown? How do we set up all that offense that you're talking about? Because that's what was rolling through my mind while I was watching tape on this one.
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Derick, because if Karine Silva's on her bike, right? She's trying to avoid the actual striking, but make things go in. You're going to have to play that kind of possum blitz game, right? Possum her in, blitz her in, and then shoot off, cut an angle one way or the other, and then try to make it dirty. Like, I mean, if you're a Karine Silva fighter right here, you're going to have to put yourself in danger to where you can make the most of it. But man, that's hard to walk in the middle ground and not expect 4 or 5 punches to come at you.
Absolutely. When I'm looking at this and I'm truly assessing this, being completely transparent and frank right here, folks, I do think that Karine Silva is the play. But given that this is a competition, again, we're not going to give you just basic same picks across the board. I'm going to take a flyer on Ariane Lipski, and here's my reasoning behind. Feel free to tail if you would like. If you want to make money, you probably should. But yeah, go follow AJ if you want to. I'll put him back on screen in one moment. No, this is the reality of it. I think Ariane Lipski has the ability to get ahead on pure volume in this fight. I can see Karine Silva getting behind on strikes if she's not able to set up that takedown, because the reality, she gets you to the ground, you're not safe anywhere. She literally has 10 different methods of submissions in her career. Folks, let me repeat that. She has 10 different methods of submission, not just 10 submissions. That's impressive, right? But 10 different methods. So she's hit people with guillotines, knee bars, darces, arm bars, heel hooks, triangles, like the entire gambit right here. So all I'm saying is that if Silva gets this fight to where she needs it to be, I could see this being over quickly. But Ariane Lipski, I think, has lived that tumultuous, I can't let this continue to happen in my career. I can't keep, you know what I mean? And we've seen an evolved fighter. So AJ, before you give me the conclusion of this and we move on to the next fight, fair or foul, man? Do you agree with me or you think I'm full of shit? What's going on here?
Very fair, Derick. Very fair. I do think Karine Silva, and in fact, when the odds came out and we put this down, I thought I was taking the flyer. I was kind of intrigued why Ariane Lipski was the favorite, the opening favorite right there. It makes a little bit more sense that the odds have flipped, so I can see Karine Silva being the more evolved and complete fighter. But it's hard to say that, man, because I love Ariane Lipski. I love the Queen of Violence. I do think if toes, if they're putting toes in between the tire, you know what I'm saying, going toe to toe, Ariane Lipski has a good shot at getting this fight won. But if it goes like how we think we are, I'm going Karine Silva.
All right, right on. So I got Lipski, AJ has Silva, and before we exit, do you have any method of victory, or are we just calling it a day?
Oh man, if it's Karine Silva, I'm saying submission.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Submissions, brother, you're right.
That's right. Ariane Lipski, give me just straight money line right here. We're taking her at dog odds, plus 130. You don't need to mess around with anything else. Just take the juice and keep it pushing. All right, folks, moving right on along. Austin Lane versus Jonata Diniz. AJ, I actually wrote out how you pronounce it, and it is Diniz, even though it's spelled Diniz. Here's the point, man. Austin Lane, freak athlete, dude. Former NFL dude, comes in, fantastic frame at heavyweight, 6'6", 80-inch reach, right? Ridiculous. Diniz, he comes in and he says, all right, I might not be as long and as lanky, but I'm a big boy too. He's like 6'4", or something like that. He is a big boy. Yeah, he is 6'4", 79-inch reach. So a lot of those intangibles, or not intangibles, a lot of those attributes that Austin Lane has, they kind of get canceled out in a way against this dude, Diniz, AJ, did you know anything about Diniz going into this fight before you did any film study?
No. Not at all.
Yeah, neither did I, really. Until I remember, I was like, oh, I saw him on the Contender Series, that right? And then I did a little bit more digging, and I was like, oh, that's right. This dude is Alex Paeta 2.0. Just kidding. You're not going to give him those accolades. No, but he does have an extensive Muay Thai and kickboxing career prior to joining MMA. So this is not just a normal dude coming in at 6-0. This is a dude with a lot of experience. Austin Lane, on the other hand, I mean, AJ, you can't doubt it at this point. He's fought stiffer competition. He's got more experience through and through in MMA. Yet he opened as a plus 200 underdog. Kind of makes sense given how he fought against Justin Tafa. If we're looking at live odds right now, has not moved an inch right here. What do you think about this fight stylistically, man? Like, what's the path to victory for both of these guys? Just get in the middle and see who lands first, or what happens?
I mean, if you're Austin Lane, you don't want any of that smoke, man. We've seen Austin Lane's chin get tested a couple times, and he has not necessarily a problem with the heavyweight power, but the follow-ups after that are kind of what Austin Lane has a little bit of problem from. Like finding once the chaos happens, once the struggle's going, he's kind of in a loss and just, surviving, if you will. So if you're Austin Lane, you need to keep this fight at a distance. You need to keep this fight very technical. But that's a challenge, man. Like you said, with the acumen that Diniz has in just striking and just fighting alone, he's gonna know how to fight and how the technical ability on how to get a fight won. So going forward, if you're Austin Lane, man, like I said, keep things at distance, but find those moments to use your athleticism, to use your natural gift that you have, and put a blitz on somebody and just hit him as hard as you can and try to work it from there. Use some movement, something like that. But if you're Diniz, man, get in there, do what you do best, start laying down that power, combos all day long, press him up against the cage, whatever you want to do. I think Diniz has every option in the book right here. Hopefully Austin Lane can prove me wrong.
I think that there is one opportunity where Austin Lane shocks the world and he puts Diniz out completely. Diniz, one thing you'll notice about him is he'll stalk you. Guard not super high, not up to the chin. Guard kind of low. Chin tucked, and he'll walk you down. Straight back to the cage, and he'll eat your shots coming in. Clearly, dude has a tested chin. But the problem is, if you let Austin Lane land one of those straight shots, one of those rear crosses, I think he puts Diniz out flat. Like, if you sit there and let him get his power off, I think it's going to be a big problem. And that's the one thing that I've seen about Diniz that does worry me, is just a lack of urgency to start. And on top of that, a lack of just head movement or guard. It's just eating shots and just being the tougher guy, which, we're always a fan of just swing and bang, right? But this is the path to victory for Jonathan Diniz, in my opinion here, AJ. Very simple. Push Austin Lane up against the cage. I think Austin Lane, in the most respectful way possible, has some of the poorest exits that I've seen, where hands down, chin up, and just exits out the side. I think he gets caught, and I think Diniz puts him out. So I say it in the most respectful way, just looking at what the film study is telling me. Diniz via knockout. That's my pick. What do you got?
Easy enough. Derick Diniz via knockout. I'm even willing to call it round 1, man. I don't see this fight going long.
I could see round 2 if we get a slow start from Diniz, but either way, maybe Austin Lane says, "Hey, I've been putting my wrestling shoes on," and he tries to take Diniz down. He's a kickboxer. Let's see what happens with the ground game. Either way, I don't got much else for this one. All right, folks. Now to the opening bout of the night. The Dirty Bird, Tim Means, looking to get one back. Uros Medic is going to be a stout opponent right here, who opened up as a minus 230 favorite with a plus 190 comeback for Tim Means. AJ, I don't agree with this opening line. Let's take a look at the live numbers, and it's even heavier, man. Minus 290 for Medic, plus 235 for Tim Means. I don't agree with the line. I think it should be a much closer fight. I know Tim Means is 40 years old. I know that he's kind of an afterthought at this point. I know that Uros Medic, he's 1-1 at welterweight. It's not like this is his natural weight class, right? What makes the odds makers have Medic as such a heavy favorite against such an experienced fighter in Tim Means?
Man, Derek, we've talked about it almost ad nauseum, where it's what have you done for me lately? But it's even crazier because Tim Means has a knockout in his last fight, TKO against Andre Fialho, where Medic has a submission neck crank loss. It's weird because it feels like it's just the perception that Uros Medic carries around that's getting him a lot of respect. And don't get me wrong, he's a dangerous fighter. I mean, this dude has, especially with the KO of Matthew Semmelsberger, we know this dude can fight. We know he can crack. And it just seems like a lot of people are forgetting what the Dirty Bird has done for the game and the danger that the Dirty Bird presents. Because if you sleep on Tim Means, you will be waking up in the back wondering what happened. The Dirty Bird is here to fight, and I agree with you. I don't like these odds at all.
And I was looking through, just because I take first impressions. Like how I go about my film study is I take the first impression, I look at the bout, and I say, all right, well, how do I feel about it? I try to kind of create my own line in my own head. And I was a little down on Tim Means too. And I could see how if you don't pay attention and you're not actually watching tape, right? Yeah, all right, Tim Means, 40 years old. Do I want to bet on a 40-year-old? Probably not, right? And then I started watching tape, and I was like, wow, okay, well, the Fialho fight, stud, right? You look at the fight prior against Alex Morono. Dog, he was very competitive in that fight. He looked super sharp. He just got caught with the guillotine, right? I think it was a guillotine in that one. It was, yeah. Mm-hmm. Max Griffin, same situation, split decision loss right there. Kevin Holland, very competitive. You got caught, you got submitted. If you look at all of those fights and you actually look at how he performed, you're not down on Tim Means the way that the odds makers are. If you look at Uros Medic in his last fight, you're pretty down on him. If you look at him at the fight that he won against Semi the Jedi, didn't look good until the later ends of the fight where he was able to continue to build. Here's the one thing about Tim Means that I found. You have to finish him to break him. This is an unbreakable spirit right here. This is a dude who never says die, who will be there for all 15 minutes. So let's start talking about the actual X's and O's. 4-inch reach advantage for Tim Means, right? Stay at distance, hit you in places you can't hit him. Foot, keeps his foot in front, stays on the pressure. And if you get him in the clinch, he has a massive clinch advantage, in my opinion, against Uros Medic, even though there's only a 1-inch height advantage for Tim Means. That's what I'm laying out on the table in favor of Tim Means. What does Uros Medic bring to the table that should be smashing Tim Means the way the odds makers see it?
The things I like most about Uros Medic, Derick, are very fast, long kicks, right? He's able to maintain that distance without having to enter any danger, and that's what makes him very good and dangerous at that distance. Very snappy striking and an ability to slip into moments, if you will. Like he's able to set up traps in that striking and not let what the opponent is doing nullify or fluster him in that sense of what he wants to accomplish. Those are some of the things. The striking most is what I like most about Uros Medic right here. But he's going to have a test on his hands against Tim Means, because I do think with that clinch game or that takedown defense that we need to see how Uros Medic does, it could be a whole lot of X's and O's that could come into play that I don't think a lot of the odds makers are seeing right here.
Yeah, man. I mean, Uros Medic has a lot of great tools that he does present. I mean, that's fair. Left cross is a missile. Left kick, rear leg kick is a missile. AJ, let's also bring to the public's attention, this is a southpaw versus southpaw matchup. Normally, if you're an Uros Medic and you have that rear leg head kick, what are you doing? You're taking away the power hand of your opposing fighter. They can't throw it because they need to always keep that on guard, make sure they don't get kicked in their head. Well, the difference is you're going to try to take away the jab now of Tim Means by using that kick. It's not quite as effective given that you're fighting a respective southpaw. Fights always get kind of weird once you start seeing it like that. So that on top of he likes to fight at range. It's hard to fight at range when you're fighting a guy with a 4-inch reach advantage. Kicks might work, maybe, you know what I mean? But let's hammer down on that one part. If you're Tim Means, you have to try to exploit the one weakness of Uros Medic. He finishes everybody. He's a die, or he's a kill or get killed type fighter. But the last 2 losses have been by submission. That's the path to victory for Tim Means, is it not?
Oh, absolutely. Get him to the ground, dominate, submit.
Now, we've said all of this, and you're probably watching this being like, oh, they're about to pick Tim Means. Well, surprise, surprise. No, we're actually like Uros Medic right here. That's the Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick. I just still don't agree with the line. I think that Uros Medic at minus 290 is not a price that I am willing to pay, so that's a stay away from me. If this was closer to minus 175, you know what I mean? Uros Medic, even like a minus 190, minus 200, yeah, fair, right?
Oh, yeah, very fair.
Yeah. Okay, so with that being said, man, Medic is the pick. He's the younger fighter, faster hands. He's not going to be the bigger guy, but there is something to this, AJ. It's hard for me to stomach betting on a 40-year-old against a young stud like Medic, who's a massive finisher. Am I taking that too much to heart, or do you think that that's something that should be swayed when you're betting?
No, I definitely think that sways the vote a little bit right here, Derick, because as high as I am on Tim Means, man, I love the Dirty Bird. There's a point where the rest of the field catches you and your athleticism falters, and hopefully we're not going to be seeing that. But I do have it written down, man. Tim Means, live dog, ? It is a possibility that he could get this fight done.
That's right, man. That is right. 15-12 in his UFC career. Uros Medic only 3-2. Vast experience gap right there. But with that being said, again, Uros Medic, that is going to be the pick, and I'd actually take a decision on this one, man. I don't know if he'll be able to get the Dirty Bird out of there. All right, folks, with that being said, that was your main card breakdown. Again, this is a Fighters Fight show, and that was a Fighters card that we just broke down right there. So we are not done. There's still something that needs to be done. We need to talk about the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. And you especially are going to get the real unknowns of today given a card like this. So let's go ahead and let's break down some sleepers, baby. Let's get it.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, folks, we have reached the sleeper section, but before we jump into things, I would be doing you a dishonor if I did not urge you. If you have not subscribed yet, you should absolutely smash that subscribe button, tell a friend to tell a friend, because this is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show after all. Again, we're doing a public service right here. We want to shine some light on the fighters who are up and coming, the fighters who want you to know them as a household name, but you know it's going to take a couple years before we get there. AJ, I'm going to pop open the big screen, and you know we need to bring up your sleeper first, per usual. Go ahead and talk to the people. Why is this a sleeper matchup? Talk to them.
Man, I got an interesting one right here. And when I was trying to find a sleeper matchup, because folks, on the prelims, there's a lot of people that need to be shined or that will have the shine future tense, whatever you want to say. But this one right here, Mahashate versus Gabriel Benitez. We know Gabriel Benitez. This dude's fire. He's in danger, or he's dangerous is what I should say. But I like this fight because this is a prove-it fight for both of these fighters. Mahashate coming off 2 losses. You got Gabriel Benitez coming off 1 loss, but neither fighter living up to the expectations that they have. I mean, a lot of people have been high on Gabriel Benitez for a while, but Mahashate, you can see a lot of people are banking on him, but he just hasn't delivered yet, what I should say. This is going to be fireworks because both of these fighters are hungry. Both of them are going to be looking to prove that they are the dog, they are the man, and that's why I think it's going to be some fireworks going forward.
This is going to be a banger right here. This is a young stud versus a grizzled vet. Look at the age gap, man. 11-year age gap. This is going to be a fun one, folks. Definitely tune in. But I got a really, really fun one. I'm really excited about this one. This is James Yontop versus Gabe Green. Gifted Gabe Green, we've seen him. He's coming off of 2 losses right here against Brian Battle and Ian Gary. That's some stiff opposition right there. If you look at the victories, Johan Lainez, that's a big one, and Phil Rowe. The grappling works, folks. It's pretty simple. But the guy that he's fighting, James Yontop, remember that name. His nickname is Goku, and this dude fights. He's the epitome of a guy who fights at the same pace for 15 minutes, who will walk you down, stalk you, and look for the finish the entire fight. Great takedown defense, missile thudding punches on every single go, and you know that he's good because he got a decision victory on the Dana White Contender Series and still got signed. If you watch that fight, he had his opponent hurt multiple times, could have finished him multiple times. Dude was just game. So the reality is, I think that James Yontop is going to be an absolute star of the future. I am marking it today. I am coming back to this video that we are recording right now when he is ranked in the top 15 of his respective division, and I'm saying tape check, baby. Let's go. That's how hyped I am about this sleeper. That's how hyped you should be about tuning in on a free prelim. I mean, the whole card is free, but this is extra free. So we deliver, folks. We do our study because we want you guys to reap the reward. Tell your friends about the picks that we gave you. Tell them about the sleepers we gave you, and you're going to look like a star. You're going to look like a stud amongst your peer group. So, AJ, that was some sleepers. You know, I like to get animated every now and then. You gotta get the people going, right? But we got a little bit more that we haven't finished up with, my friend. And let's go ahead and we're going to bring up the big screen once more. We got some prelims. AJ, don't have any burning questions given that we have so many unknowns, but I am curious to see if any bouts stand out to you amongst the madness that is this fight card.
Man, the one that stands out most to me, Derek, Dontel Mays versus Caio Machado. Dontel Mays, we've seen him kind of falter a little bit, and Caio Machado's going to come in, man. He has something to prove. 8-2-1, very dangerous, and at a heavyweight class, man, this is one of those ones that this is a prove-it moment. I know I was saying that for the sleeper fight, but if Caio Machado has his way, man, he's going to come in here and do a lot of damage. Dontel Mays has something for him, but we'll see if Dontel actually shows up on, or I don't want to say shows up on fight night, but shows up in full performance on fight night.
I don't want to say anything out of turn here, AJ, but if I remember correctly, I think I'm really down on Caio Machado. I think I watched him on the Dana White Contender Series get a decision victory, get signed to the promotion where I was like, why did this guy get signed? What's going on here? No disrespect, right? But it's like, why did that performance merit getting signed? And now you're stepping up to the plate against Dontel Mays, who is probably like, yo, we got to put it on somebody. I think that this is actually going to be a really fun matchup right here, like, believe it or not. So you got a lot of interesting things to see right here. I want to talk a little bit about this one right underneath, man. Marnich Man versus Ketlin Souza. As you can see, Ketlin Souza coming off of I'm imagining some form of a knee injury since she got heel hooked by Karine Silva in her last fight, right? Got her knee popped or something like that, put her out of action. Well, now she fights Marnich Man, and she opens up, or she is currently a minus 330 favorite. When something like that happens, that just means they're incredibly down on the opposing fighter. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, especially for somebody as an unknown, man, you have to be incredibly down on the other fighter.
And Marnich Man, I remember watching this fight right here. I was actually there for the fights against Knudsen. That's the one who was the next protege of Hamzat Chimaev or something like that, man. Swedish fighter, whatever the case may be. Yo, she was game, dude. She didn't get finished by Knudsen, which was like, people were complaining and all of that good stuff. But the point is she was game enough not to get finished. It did, to a degree, kind of feel like we're gonna insert you to throw you against the Wolves because you lost on the Contender Series, got knocked out. That was that highlight knockout, Bruno Brazil, right? You won one fight in the LFA, and then you get signed to the UFC, and you get dominated in a decision. So the odds makers are super down on her. I'm just kind of concerned that Souza is such a heavy favorite given the circumstance. I wouldn't be surprised to see this be a little more competitive than you think. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would expect it to be a little bit more competitive. Anytime we're seeing somebody come back with a knee injury, both I and yourself, Derek, we know exactly what I'm talking about. It takes a little bit, and we want to see how they perform 1, 2, 3 fights in, and then we're really comfortable with actually laying some cash on it.
That's it. All right, folks. Now just kind of looking at everything else. There's nothing really that stands out here. I love the Thud Hubbard fight against Michael Fidlock. That's going to be fun. Ronnie Yaya versus Victor Henry. As you can see, Victor Henry opens up as a minus 575 favorite. Game plan's pretty clear. Ronnie Yaya wants to get in his face, take him down, and submit him. Victor Henry can kind of do it all. I think he's coming off of if I'm not mistaken, let me know. I got to bring it up just so I don't say anything out of turn. That's right, the Javed Basharat no contest right there. And then before, got the split over Tony Gravely, lost to Rafael Assunção. I remember that was very surprising when I saw that, but it is Assunção. Got the win over Barcelos. If you're Ronnie Yaya, AJ, I mean, what do you got to do to get the dub here?
Now,
man, make it ugly, get this fight.
Who's next?
Hold on, bro. We got some music
like
playing. We got Homeboy. What's the podcast? What's Homeboy? Pat McAfee, Indianapolis Colts. Sorry, ESPN loves to play things on automatic. Anyways, all right, keep going. What does Ronnie Yaya got to do?
If you're Ronnie Yaya, man, you have to make this fight dirty. You have to nullify the distance that Victor Henry's going to have because this dude can throw up some crazy shit at any point. Yeah. And next thing you know, you see a big flash. But if Ronnie Yaya can get this fight to the ground, get that dominance, I see things looking good for him.
All right, well, odds makers don't, but we'll see what happens right here for sure. All right, folks, listen, we did it. We made it to another outro. UFC Vegas 91. Made it. We're here. I didn't know we had music here, AJ. I forgot that we have music playing on this portion of the show, but I like it. I'll take it all day. This is a good little way to exit the show. All right, folks, AJ is going to get us out of here as always. AJ, take it away.
Folks, we said it once, we'll say it again. Your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. Go tell all your friends. Like Derek said before, you're going to look good, right? You're winning all this money. You're over here checking out the picks, getting things in, right? You're the big dog at the crowd. But either way, man, I know what's really driving you, and it's money in your pockets week in and week out. Nobody does it like us, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're going to be going there to the top eventually. And yo, folks, man, you're the ones powering us up, so we got to say thank you and I love you. Man, it's going to be a fun weekend this week.
Less than 20 subscribers away from 900 deep for the Bloody Water Podcast Army. Would love to see that following this event right here this weekend. So let's go ahead and let's do the thing, folks. That's it for us. And until next time, peace.